What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Napoleon Hogan's Ministry. And today we are in chapter 14, almost halfway through our 31 days in Proverbs, 31 days in March. So, the overview of chapter 14 basically is dealing with matters of the heart, dealing with making sure that the decisions you're making are rooted in wisdom, rooted in the Lord's guidance, rooted in counsel, making sure that, what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, as well as, the Lord's protection and wisdom's protection of the righteous. So, there were several verses that stood out to me as usual. I'm going to go ahead and go through those real quick. Not as many as the previous chapters, but it was still a good read. Okay, so first verse that stood out to me was verse 2, and it says, "Whoever lives with integrity fears the Lord, but the one who is devious in his ways despises him." Your actions did really show what and who you value. If you say you value God, but your actions go against what God has for you and who He is, then you don't. Same thing with like your family and your friends. If you say you love them, but you mistreat them, do you really love them? Okay, moving on to verse 6. That's the next one that stood out to me. It says, "A mocker seeks wisdom and doesn't find it, but knowledge comes easily to the perceptive." Basically, like, what your paradigm, right? Are you teachable? Are you actually looking for wisdom? Are you actually seeking wisdom? Are you seeking to be right? Just, to remain in your foolishness, to validate your foolishness? Or are you actually seeking to change? Verse 8, "The sensible person's wisdom is to consider his ways, but the stupidity of fools deceives them." So basically, what that is saying is, if you are wise, you're going to stop and think about the decisions that you make. If you're foolish, you're just making decision after decision for the sake of making a decision. There's no wisdom in it, there's no real rhyme or reason, it's just a decision. But if you're wise, when you make decisions, there's a reason, there's an end goal. It's like looking, like, where do I want to be in 10 years? And then you make decisions working backwards. That's wisdom. Or like, will this decision, this purchase, this conversation, this relationship, you know, this statement get me where I'm really wanting to go? So if you're wise, you really think about these things. Verse 12, "There's a way that seems right to a person, but in its end leads to death." Man, that's such a good statement right there, where it's saying just because you think your way is right, you could be going down the path of death. That's why God's given us wisdom to compare our what we're doing with wisdom. That's why we need to seek the Lord as well to make sure the paths that we are on, we're not deceiving ourselves on these paths. That this is the right way when it's not. And verse 16, it says, "A wise person is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is easily angered and careless." A wise person will say, "I'm not going to let this offend me. I'm not going to let you get to me. I'm not going to let you get a reaction out of me." A fool is like, "I'm going to do it immediately. I'm going to respond immediately. You can have a piece of my mind." The whole I match energies level thing. That's what fools do. Someone gives you an attitude, so you give them an attitude back. You're foolish. Someone gives you an attitude and you respond with kindness. Well, you got wisdom there. Last two verses 23. "There is profit in all hard work, but endless talk leads only to poverty." If you only have good ideas and they stay good ideas, they're not benefiting you anything at all. They're not benefiting you at all. You need to step out and actually try them. Actually take a leap of faith and see if these ideas are actually good. If you just sit there and think about them all the time, you talk about them all the time, you're never going to accomplish anything. And verse 27, "The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, turning people away from the snares of death." The fear of the Lord, or you could just as accurately say the worship of the Lord, turns people away from death. This is very consistent with salvation, right? We make God our everything, we worship Him, and He turns us away from eternal death, but also gives us life and life abundantly while we are here. Life abundantly in our health, life abundantly in our understanding in our mind, even in our finances, in our relationships. It's God's will for us to have life, period, in every area of our life. And for every area of our life to be growing. This is consistent throughout Scripture as well as in Proverbs. Well, thank you for hanging out with me in this video. I hope that you've been enjoying these studies. I have as well. Put down in the comments what you've gotten from it and your favorite verses from chapter 14. I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 15. God bless. Peace.